I'll also just mention that, yes, this session is being recorded, and a recording link will be shared by email and on Core Alberta after the session. So that's just so that you know that. So here's our agenda for today. And we'll learn the Healthy and Aging on Core, Community of Practice Team, Needs Assessment, Purpose and Success, Create a Plan, and Next Steps. So we have a lot to do in the next little while, so we're excited to get started. So next, I'll just introduce you to our International Linkages Community of Practice team. And so we start with Betty Good, who's from the Linkages Society in Calgary. We have Julie Friesen, who is from the Community Development Unit, Alberta Cultural Multiculturalism and Status of Women Medicine Hat Office. Chantel Ottenbright from the Community Connections and Support from the City of Medicine Hat. Rebecca Zulu from Clearwater Regional FCSS and Rocky Mountain House. And me from Chinook Arch Regional Library System, and Jody Wood, Ministry of Seniors and Housing. So that's the team that's here today, and we're excited to help you out. I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. To begin with, we're fortunate for the opportunity to come together in this virtual community space, and we're doing so from across the province. In the spirit of our journey to promote reconciliation, I would like to honor the truth of the shared history and acknowledge the traditional territories of people Treaty 7 in Southern Alberta, though, well, I knew I should have practiced this more, the Mohkinstsis, right? No, I didn't say that right. Sydney can help me out with that.
Mohkinstsis.
Mohkinstsis, thank you. I was trying to not butcher that. Also known as Calgary, is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta Region 3. And so just to make sure we're all comfortable, I'm sure we're all very familiar with Zoom, but we want you to be able to know that you can unmute and mute yourselves to make comments during this presentation. We also want you to know that there's a participants icon that you can click open and see the option to raise your hand. And anytime that you want to do that or make a comment, we're happy to have that happen. And also please use the chat box to add anything that you feel would help us out with either shared resources that you have or comments that we can use. And that will help you monitoring that chat box also. And so again, we're excited to have you here, and I will turn the time over to Betty and we will get started.
Thanks, Charlene. Okay, I don't know if all of you were here last time, but a number of you were. And I know that you all got your needs assessment template. So what I would like to do, I'm assuming that you took some time to complete your needs assessment. And I just have a couple of questions. What we're going to do is just kind of review what we talked about last time, not in a lot of detail, because the bulk of our time is going to be spent in breakout rooms planning your program, which is super exciting for today. So here's a question, and we're a small group, so I hope you all feel free just to share with everybody, okay? In doing your needs assessment, was there anything from doing it that jumped out at you?
That you need to have multiple avenues for a lot of the resource parts because things change so quickly sometimes.
Okay. Who was that was speaking?
So that was me, Rebecca.
Oh, Rebecca, okay. Okay, sorry, I should recognize voices, but I don't. Okay, anybody else? Anything that jumped out at you when you did your needs assessment?
I'm kind of working on like an imaginary program because I can't really implement anything, but I'm pretending that I can start an intergenerational program in my neighborhood. And I actually found Google Maps really useful in locating resources that I didn't even know were in my own neighborhood. So that was kind of a, oh, I didn't know that agency was there. I've lived here for like 13 years. So that was kind of interesting to me.
So what kind of thing did you type in to get the information you found?
I actually can't even remember how I started, but you know how Google will just give you the grid of a community and there's little pins of different businesses and whatnot. So that I was just kind of moving around like a 10-block radius of my neighborhood sort of. And yeah, there were different organizations around me that I didn't know were there just on the basis of those little pins.
Oh, so that's a good tip.
Yeah.
Okay, Tatiana, you have your hand raised?
Yes, I did. Just to clarify, are we talking about the document that is called Part 1 assessment tool?
Yes.
The one, okay. So I found, I found this document being useful in terms of like being a kind of a draft of what we would like to create and all the kind of the pieces. But actually, honestly, I couldn't find how this document helped to assess the needs. That's something that stood out for me. I didn't see the needs assessment. Where is the seniors and youth voice in that document, or us trying to assess if that program is really needed in the community? So that's kind of was my question mark in terms of completing this document. So I'm not sure what the other participants think, but I kind of felt that I was missing the part that would, when we go out, reach out and start assessing the need in the community, or we start filling this document already with an assumption that we know what the gap is and we're trying to fill it with that intergenerational program. So that was my kind of point, that observation that I made.
Thank you. That's a really good observation. How about the rest of you? Did you have that same experience?
I felt that it was almost like it's a misnomer for what the form is doing. If you think of it as a social needs assessment to determine if you have a need in your community, yeah, it completely misses the mark. Whereas if you're looking at as to run this program, this is what I need, then that's what it's more geared towards. So it might just be because we're so used to, when we think needs assessment, we're thinking like the big social needs assessments where you get out and you're surveying, you're finding the gaps and all of that. So in that sense, no, that's not what it's doing. But in just knowing what you need to run a program, it's a good checklist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point. But we have to remember the other part too. I wonder if I was just assuming everybody wants an intergenerational program and they know why, but that probably was the wrong assumption. Okay, any other things that stood out? Thanks for sharing that, Tatiana. Anything else before we go on to the next part?
Just to sort of like an in-between place between what Rebecca and Tatiana are commenting on, when I was working through this just as an exercise, I was able to, like, I did have that question, like, what are the actual demographics of my neighborhood in terms of age groups and whatnot? And I was able to get that information through the city of Edmonton. And just by luck, because my neighborhood is going under revitalization, they had a really nice breakdown that way. So I guess in terms of a learning is to always check municipal websites for that kind of information. And then the city of Edmonton had also done a survey specific to older adults a couple of years ago that, again, I mean, that's Edmonton specific, but other municipalities might have similar information. So kind of in between, I guess, the two comments of Tatiana and Rebecca.
Thanks. Okay, resources in your community. Jody said she was surprised to find the resources that she did in her area. How about the rest of you? What were some of the resources that you discovered that you may not have known were there? Although if you're in a tiny community, chances are you know about everything.
You know what, Betty, for me, one of the things that stood out, and I really appreciate the comments that have been made till now, they're all bang on. One of the things that stood out for me in that document, because it's true, it wasn't an actual needs assessment, was the part about partnerships. Because although I'm very ultra familiar with my community because of all my involvements, I still certainly don't know it all. And so I thought, I'm really intrigued by knowing the ones that I don't know. And I think the partnership piece in that document is one of the keys, one of the many, and the others have outlined some, but once you start collaborating with others, because they might know things that you don't know, and you might know things they don't know, and you start to be able to build things together and they become what you can get so much more from a collaboration than you can from doing it alone. So I think to some extent that helps provide the needs assessment piece. It's not all of it, but it's a little bit of it because they are all aware of things and needs in the community as well. And when you meld those together, you get a much better picture.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I just wanted to agree with what Julie said, just from my experience of working in the libraries and visiting all the small towns in Southern Alberta. So I don't live in them all. So I go in kind of, not knowing the community. So you rely. So just to plug again, which I've said many times, is the library is a great place to start to find resources too, because they are connected to your communities. And so that's another great resource is your librarians are very aware of what's going on in their communities. And I found them, because I worked with them, but very helpful. And I was able to meet a lot of different people in the communities through my association with those librarians.
Thanks, Charlene. Okay, so let's just spend like a brief minute on this one. What are you hoping to achieve through your program?
Connection between children, youth, and seniors so that they have someone to connect to. For youth or for children, it might be like a mentoring. A senior could be a mentor for them. For the senior, it could be loneliness. It could be lonely and, another person in their life that they can connect to.
Thanks, Karen. Anybody else? And right now we're in a pandemic, but hopefully it will not last forever. And so chances, I'm thinking chances are what we're planning now, it could start during the pandemic, but it definitely will either start after the pandemic or continue after the pandemic's over. So, so when you talk about like the mentoring and the relationships, it could be like in person afterwards, right? Okay, not everybody feels free to chat in the group, which is totally fine, but I want you to answer this in your head if you can. What are you hoping to achieve through your program? Okay, because this is going to help you with your planning. And part of your homework was trying to decide the type of program. And for some, it's kind of obvious, oh, I'm going to do this, or you've got a definite idea. And for others, it's a little bit trickier. So we talked at length about, well, not at length, but we talked about all these programs last time. So this isn't an exhaustive list, but I'm wondering if some of you have already decided which program will work well in your community. So let's hear from you. Tatiana, go ahead.
Yeah, so I can talk. Me and my colleague Anastasia here, we both are from JFS Edmonton, and again, we sort of missing the piece that would prove that the program that we would like to develop is really needed in the community. We hope we sort of started developing or planning this program based on our observation and experience working with the clients that we have. But again, we before we start developing into a concrete program, I believe we still have to run a kind of true investigation in the community and see if there is a need for this. But we do have a plan. We work for the program that is called Holocaust Survivor Support Program. And the majority of our clients, they're Russian-speaking clients. So we would love to partner with Edmonton Seniors Council TV program, that they have a TV online channel for people 55 and plus. And so that's kind of tailored programs that they stream. So we would like to have a channel that is a program once a week that is created for the Russian-speaking Holocaust survivors. Potentially, we can expand it to other Russian-speaking seniors communities, but right now we're focusing to that population. So we would love the teens and youth, young adults to do once a week some sort of kind of news program talking about what happened during the week, and to announce what kind of events to follow up or to expect next the upcoming week. So we know that most of our seniors have significant language barrier, and they live in their language bubble, cultural bubble, and especially now during the pandemic. And there is no much connection and interaction going on, while the youth from the same cultural group has the ability of being bilingual and being that connector between different cultures. So we hope that the youth would bring that kind of educational and entertainment and informational aspect into the seniors' life, sort of building that bridge between the seniors bubble and the larger community, and providing them with some interesting and helpful information. And at the same time, the teens and the young adults who would participate in the program would gain the experience in working with seniors population, tailoring the content towards their seniors, learning about their experience, sort of analyzing the feedback that they would receive. So it's kind of really sort of mutual benefits that we're expecting here. So we do understand there is a barrier in terms of technology. Not every senior has access to internet. So this is something that we will be exploring and see how we can overcome this barrier. But right now, so that's kind of preliminary plan for our program that we have.
You know what, I can't even imagine working with Holocaust survivors, but good for you. I think that's really, really exciting. Anybody else have an idea of what kind of program you're gonna will work? Okay, so what I'm going to do now, in a couple of minutes, you're going to be put into breakout rooms so that you can actually plan your program. And yesterday or this morning, for some of you, I sent you a template that said planning your intergenerational program. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go through this in a bit of detail, because if you have not planned a program before, you're going to say, what what's this all about? So I'm just kind of going to go over this to clarify some of the things and then open it up to questions before we put you into your groups so that you can do your own work. So we already talked about the type of program, okay? And Tatiana kind of talked about the details that they would like to see, and technology, that's another thing to think about. How many youth will be in your program? And how many seniors? And how will they be matched? So each program will be unique to your community. And so when I think of matching youth and seniors, usually my experience in Calgary and with linkages has been where we call them care center / school programs. And we also have programs in the community, but the programs that I'm going to be referring to that I've had experience with, they're the ones where we take the students from the school to the care center, okay? And so we match them up, 2 students and 1 senior, because, you know, not everybody is talkative. Some people are shy. And so if you have 2 students or 2 youth together, they can support each other. And if one's super shy and they're kind of with a quiet senior, then that's kind of awkward too. But so that's why we have 2 for each senior. And the number, you'll just have to determine that based on your own community. Like some of our programs, some have 26 or 28 students and half that amount of seniors. But then sometimes, you know, there'll be more students that want to join, and it depends on your space too. So that's something to think about. And day of week, time of day, that can vary. There again, you have to consider, are you in the community? Are you in the school? And frequency of visits. You know, if you're during the daytime and the teachers allow the students to leave, they may not want them leaving every week. You may want to do it weekly, or if they're after school programs, they might want to go weekly. And it also depends a lot on the requirements of the funder. So we have a funder where we do Calgary after school programs, and they insist that one of the requirements is they have to get together weekly. And so we do those after school. And length of each visit, our school programs, we have them for an hour. And then at the end of the hour, or at the end of the year, I'll say to everybody, so, or it's in their evaluation, what would make this program better? And I would venture to say that half of the participants say, we need more time. 1 hour is not long enough. And so isn't that amazing? So we could, like some of even the after school programs, we could go to an hour and a half, and some of ours are. But I would suggest if it's your first time, stick to an hour, because you want them leaving wishing for more. Okay, so if you're not sure, and here again, it depends. If you're doing an art program, an hour is not going to be enough. So it depends on the type of program and the length of program. One of our, we call it Project Inspire. It's art. They meet weekly, and it's a 6-week program. But our school and care center programs, they coincide with the school year. So they're like from September till the end of May. So it just depends on your program. And so when are you going to start and end? Okay. The transportation, also, how will they get there? If you have a budget and you have to pay for transportation, that may determine weekly or bi-weekly visits. So there's, or are they going to get there themselves? Okay, venue, here again, you have to consider how many, what are you going to do in your program? Will you need the kitchen? Are you serving snacks? Are people coming in wheelchairs? Are they going to be able to move around? Are you going to play games? So there's all those kinds of things to consider when you consider the venue. And then who will coordinate? let's talk about the next two. The coordinator and the facilitator will work together. And the coordinator is kind of like the person who's in charge. Okay, so if I'm the coordinator of several school programs, and then I have some volunteers that will go to the care center and facilitate the programs, I have to decide, okay, what am I going to do? What is the facilitator going to do? Will, in my case, the facilitator gets a package from me. I have planned all the activities. I give the facilitator a package, and she or he, they have to open it up ahead of time and just, you know, see what's expected of them. They arrive at the care center in time to set up the room. They facilitate, they run the whole program with all the material that I've given them. At the end of it, they clean up, they make sure the kids get on the bus or leave, and they write a report, and I get that package back. And if there's, they oversee the program, and if there's anything, for example, if there's a group that's struggling with conversation, at the care center, we're lucky because there's always staff at the program. So then it's up to the facilitator to communicate with the staff to kind of, you know, resolve any issues that come up, but then also report those to me. So you have to consider the coordinator and the facilitator and how much they're going to work together. And then who will support or assist. Now, if you've got a really strong facilitator who's had a lot of experience, they may not need an assistant or support. But even if they are strong, when you're in a room with 40 participants, it's always really, really good to have somebody there that will just jump in, well, not jump in, but be there and help distribute material, distribute the snacks, clean up at the end, jump in with a group if they're struggling. Two are usually better than one, okay? And then the last two things, the sensitivity training for both youth and seniors and the curriculum. In your planning, think about who is going to do that. The youth need to be trained before they ever go and spend time with the seniors. And also you have to have a curriculum. What are you going to do? So our community of practice committee, we've already talked about this. And after you're finished our 3 sessions, you still need more training unless you've had experience. You need training for how to do the training for the youth and seniors and how to develop your curriculum. And we're going to be providing that later in the spring. So that's something that we're going to help you with. But in the meantime, you can consider, who do you think? Will it be the facilitator, the coordinator? Is there somebody in your community, a volunteer? You know, just think about your resources and who's going to do that. Okay, any questions before we kick you into your waiting rooms? Not waiting room, sorry, your breakout rooms.
I had one, just the role of facilitator, Betty. Is that typically a linkages staff then when you use that term, or who is typically a facilitator for your programs?
Okay, at Linkages, we have 15 programs that are school and care center. And I would say we try to use volunteers as much as possible. And I think maybe about 5 of our programs are run by facilitators, and the others are linkages staff.
So typically a facilitator equals a volunteer then?
It could, unless, so for example, Rebecca, you're in Rocky Mountain House, you have a program, your staff, do you have a facilitator who's volunteering, or do you run the program?
Last year I had volunteers that we kind of like co-ran it, whereas this year, because of COVID, I'm the only one allowed in the school, so I run the whole thing. Like I had it planned for someone to take it and then the pandemic. So
Right.
now I go to the school.
Okay. So even if, for example, when we have volunteers running them, they're still responsible to us as staff. And they still report, and every once in a while, we'll just show up at the program to offer them support. So it just depends. Retired teachers are great. Okay, any other questions?
I've noticed too that, sorry, once the rapport was built up with the school, like last year, the teachers were really involved and wanted to kind of almost like supervise to see what was happening. Whereas this year, because they were so comfortable with how things had went last year, this year, they literally gave me my own classroom, everything. They're just like, here you go, here's your children, do your thing. So that's been really nice once you get the rapport built up within the schools and stuff.
Another thing that we do, sometimes parents come. I don't know if I've ever had a parent in a facilitator role, although I could have, but they're often in a support role. When we give applications to the students to apply for a program, and the parents have to sign off, they have to give consent. We also have a section saying, we have volunteer opportunities. Would you like to volunteer? And so some of them are support. Oh, and you know what? If you'll be able to tell, would they be great facilitators? You still have to train them to be facilitators. So that's another avenue that you could pursue. Okay, any other questions? Okay, I think our groups are going to be fairly small. We plan them to be small on purpose so that you can really dive in and plan your program. And I've got 7 facilitators on the sidelines here waiting to jump into the breakout rooms. Cindy, are we going to have, how many breakout rooms do we have?
I have created 4 breakout rooms based on our numbers.
So for all you facilitators, there might be 2 in one room, which is fine. Because we, not everybody who registered is here today, but they're probably waiting for the recording. So, okay, while you're in your breakout room, there will be a button. If you have a question or if you need me for anything, just press that button, the help button, and then I will get the message, I hope, and I will pop in and see how you're doing, okay? So if there's no other questions, you've got, let's say 25 minutes. Because it's 10 after 2. Let's say 25 minutes, and then we'll jump back into the main group. Okay? Okay, see you in 25 minutes. Are they in breakout rooms?
Yeah, they all should be there.
Okay. I had my slide up and that's all I could see. Wow.
And so we can talk and they can't hear us, right?
I hope
Yes.
so.
The recording, I can pause it. Let's see.
Click leave room because it didn't kick you out. The timer just stopped.
It'll kick out everyone in 40 seconds.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure how that worked. It's being all fancy there, Cindy.
No, this is my first time. It's all the tutorials I've watched.
Well, you know what? I even took a course, a little tutorial about breakout rooms, and then yesterday I blew it. So you think you understand until you go to try it. Okay.
Well, experience is the best teacher.
Yeah. It's also very embarrassing sometimes. Is everybody out?
I think one more room. Yep.
Okay.
Everyone should be back.
Okay. Everybody's back? That's
Yeah,
awesome.
they are all back now.
Okay, so I'm excited to hear how your planning session went. I was going to pop in and just see how you were doing, but then I thought that would be kind of awkward because you just kind of pop in the middle of a conversation and eavesdrop. So I didn't, but let's hear from you. So in your planning, what words or phrases stood out for you? And don't all speak at once.
Okay, I'm going to go because I'm excited about this last thing that that was said in my little group, and that was a framework that moves from me to we to community. That really resonated for me.
Okay. Well, that was kind of like for the curriculum, right?
Yeah. Well, almost a philosophy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. That's a great philosophy. Okay, anybody else? What words or phrases stood out? Or anything else that stood out that you're just dying to share with the group?
Dan told us about the wheelchair races he does with the kids, and I was super excited.
Really?
He could probably elaborate more on it, but it was a pretty happy moment for me.
Okay, Dan, let's hear it.
Okay, well, I get a whole bunch of wheelchairs from the occupation therapy, old wheelchairs from the occupation therapy department. And just as a part of our sensitivity training with the classrooms or the students before I bring the residents to the school, we talk about wheelchair safety, wheelchair operation, wheelchair maintenance, and then we have a little bit of fun and we do wheelchair relay races with the children. And because the chairs are quite big compared to the children, we put 2 children per chair, and we do an obstacle course in the gymnasium or outside if it's nice, that they have to race with each other and or against each other. And it's a really good exercise because they're only allowed to use their arm that's closest to the wheel on the outside. So it allows them to understand people that are victims of stroke or some form of neglect. And I forgot to mention, just got to make sure your liability forms are all signed and the parents are aware of it.
That's awesome. Now, I was going to say, I hope they're not power wheelchairs.
No, we do have every now and again, depending upon the year, we've had the odd senior buddy who is in a power chair, and then we'll have if the children want, feeling pretty brave, they'll challenge that resident to a race, and they'll do a relay race against the person in the power wheelchair. So have a little bit of fun with that.
Okay, can you just take one more minute? Tell us about your program. Like, where are you? And do you
Okay.
have seniors coming to the school, or what do you guys, what do you do?
Sorry. No, I'm a recreation therapist up in Westlock at a continuing care center. We have a 120 bed facility, and we run, I call it our intergenerational program. I call it a senior buddies program. And we go to a rural school once a week, and we run that from October till about May. We take December off because of the Christmas activities. Not now during COVID, of course. This is pre-COVID days. And we spend about 60 minutes in the morning, and we do a variety of programs, whether it's floor curling, math problems, reading comprehension, puzzles, and board games.
So you take the residents over to the school, and how many do you take at a time?
I can take, I was telling our little group, I like to have 8, but it fluctuates throughout the year, and it'll be 6 to 8 seniors that I will take to the school. And sometimes the classrooms range anywhere from 18 to maybe 22 students in the classroom. So the ratio of students to the resident is a high one with the students.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, thanks for sharing. That sounds like I might have to come visit you.
Just so you know, it's about -40 up here today.
Oh, I'm not thinking this week.
Oh, are you sure?
Okay, anybody else? Okay, next question. in answering all these questions and talking about your community, what do you think might go well? I should stop asking questions because then you're really quiet.
I can kind of speak to that a little bit. I'm kind of in the framework of thinking about what it might look like after COVID regulations are done. And I can kind of see an opportunity to get these seniors involved with my after school program that I also run. And so I run an after school program for kids in grades 3 to 6. And if this program goes well and it's popular and kids or the seniors like it and want to get involved with kids a little bit more, maybe it's an opportunity to invite them post-COVID to after school program sessions every now and then and just have them get to know the kids and see what our program's all about and just have them be exposed to youth a little bit more than they might be used to, because they can have a lot to learn and they have a lot to teach the kids also. And I've also marked that the more adults that we have present in program, the kids tend to be on their best behavior, and they also really enjoy having a bunch of different people to talk to and learn from. So I think I'm just thinking post-COVID here, if our program does go well, then that's an opportunity to have some more connection.
Wow. You might want to chat with Dan. Maybe you could borrow his wheelchairs.
Oh yeah, we'll need some.
Hey, anybody else? What might go well in your program? Okay, I'm almost afraid to ask number 3. Any challenges that you foresee at this point?
I'll talk about a cool idea from Karen. Some of the activities that they were doing prior to COVID. They put up a great big sort of paper for a timeline, and then the kids and older adults picked a date that was important to them and then talked about it. And that was a way to create conversation. Karen, jump in if I didn't get that quite right. And then I had listened to a webinar on intergenerational programming, and one of the ideas that I thought that group, that it was a good idea, was prior to starting their program, they got I think 3 or 4 younger people and 3 or 4 older people together to form like kind of an advisory group of what the programming could look like. So I thought that that was a good idea, rather than all of us trying to dream up what they might be interested in, to kind of get it from the horse's mouth.
That's awesome.
And for challenges, good old transportation is always a challenge.
Especially in cities. Okay, I'm just looking at the time. It's 2:45, so I'm gonna scoot along here. Any insights that you took away from your being in your group?
There's just so many options for ways that you can get them to connect and to just open your perspectives as to what they want to learn, what they want to share, instead of maybe coming in with your preconceived notions. Ask them straight out.
When I first started at Linkages, we didn't plan our activities a year ahead like we do now. We have a whole curriculum now, but I would go week to week because I'd never done this before. I taught school, but I hadn't done these kind of intergenerational programs. So one day it was junior highs, and they took their seniors to their dining rooms. And when they came back, we gathered in the hall waiting for everybody to come back. So I just said to the students, I said, hey, what should we do next time? And one of the kids said, we should make slime. And you know what? We made slime and they had so much fun. So it really is a good idea to ask the participants what they want to do. Okay, in the chat room, everybody write a number from 1 to 10. How motivated are you to get started? Hello? Oh, here we go. Anybody want to speak to this? I see 7s, 8s, and 9s. Those are good numbers. I even see a 10. Wow. Okay, anybody want to speak to that about your motivation? Okay, then let's go on to the next one. You're probably getting a numb bum by now. So next steps. Here's your homework. And your homework, and I'm going to send you the template in the morning, okay? I want you to, first of all, I want you to think about risks in your community for your program. I think it was Dan, Dan mentioned you better check your insurance policy for the wheelchairs. So think about the safety involved. Do you need insurance? If your participants are minors, they need consent from their parents to be in this program. If you're going to take photos, you need consent for that. Any other risks, and some will be common, but they will probably be unique to your community and your program. And then the second thing I want you to do is create a timeline. So tomorrow morning, I will send you the template. I'll also send you a sample of a timeline that we use at Linkages for our school care center programs, okay? Just an idea. And so when you read over the sample, that will give you an idea of how to create a timeline for your particular program. So it might be a little hard right now because we're in pandemic, and some of you may want to start a program before COVID is lifted. I don't know if lifted is the right word, before it disappears. So if it's whatever, you can set a date and then you can tweak it, okay? So when you're creating the timeline, you want to set dates for planning, for training, for when you're going to start, when you're going to end. You're going to use the template that you filled in today to create your timeline, okay? And you're evaluating, like, you'll see that. So the whole timeline, and then you're going to bring it back for our next and final session of this 3-part workshop series. You're going to bring it back in 2 weeks, and we're going to talk about that, and then we're going to talk about evaluations, okay? Consider potential risks, and then just to prepare for the next time, you notice when I sent out the template, page 2, it said next steps. And I want you to just do number 1 and 2, but number 1, it's a create a timeline, and then it's at ABC, training for youth, pre-survey, set date for first. That will be in your timeline, but you're not actually going to be creating a training session, okay? You're just going to put in the time there, and then we're going to talk about training the trainer at another time, okay? So next session, we're going to talk about evaluations. And it's not a strong suit of mine. It's not one of my strengths, although we have done a lot of evaluations, but Carrie, who's a new coworker at Linkages, she just started in December, and she's had a lot of experience with evaluations and evaluating programs and measuring the impact and measuring outcomes. So I've asked her if she would come and talk to us and walk us through how to measure the impact that we hope to achieve, how to create an evaluation tool. And so she's going to do that. And again, she's going to teach you how to do that. And then you are going to be going into your breakout rooms with the template that I'm going to send you the day before. And you're going to create an evaluation survey or an evaluation form for your specific program. Okay, so number 3, just think about what impact do you hope to achieve? And then how do you think you'll be able to measure it? Any questions? So, okay, Charlene. Oh, Charlene, over to you.
All right. Well, thank you, Betty. That was wonderful. I mean, I learned a lot. I didn't get to go in the breakout rooms, but I'm sure you guys learned lots. And I mean, I've been doing the intergenerational program with libraries for coming up to the end of my 2 years. And so I just can't say how valuable this information is for you. When I started, it was, I kind of had to scour the internet for information for myself. There wasn't this wonderful core website and a wonderful community of practice that you have to tap into. So this is golden stuff. When I found out about it, I just, I love it, even though I'm coming to the end of my programming. But I just wanted to say how much I enjoyed it. And I hope that you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, I hope that you can ask them or contact Betty. Her email is right there, or any of us, if you just go to the core Alberta, and Cindy will talk about how you can get in contact with us. But I hope you enjoyed it, and we look forward to seeing you next time when you come. It'll be awesome. And to you, Cindy.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I would love to invite everyone to join the Intergenerational Community Practice Group so that we can continue these conversations. So for those who might not know, CORE is an online platform that was designed to be a sector building and knowledge mobilization tool. And on this website, you can get a free membership and then join any group that is of interest for you. And we just hope to bring together the community-based senior serving organizations so that collaborations can occur, innovations can get shared and developed so that we can better support seniors and healthy aging. I have copied and pasted the website into the chat, so feel free to click that link to create a membership and join the group. And I will also copy and paste the Healthy Aging email if you have any questions. And yeah, thank you so much for attending the event today. I also listened and learned from a lot of you today. So thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, Cindy. And thank everybody for joining. And the Community of Practice Committee, we're just going to stay on for brief debrief. Okay, and we'll see everybody in 2 weeks.
Sounds good. Take care, everyone, and stay warm.
Yes.
Warmer.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a
Thank
great day.
you.